What's the word? My name is Quaisian, if you don't know me, also known as Average Z Fighter. I got something a little different that I want to bring to the channel today. This right here is actually going to be a reaction video, and it's a video of a lady who is talking about her love for Nintendo, and she's actually talking about the release of the Switch 2 and kind of the state that gaming is just in and what this means for gaming going forward, in her opinion. Her thoughts are very genuine, very honest. You'll see that she's been a diehard fan for Nintendo for a long time, and I just think that it's a very good, sobering perspective that she's bringing. I think it's just awesome, man. It's I haven't seen anything like this in a long time, and I just want to bring the attention of this to you guys. So let's check it out, see what she's talking about.
So the Switch 2 is out, and honestly, I wish I could say I was excited. I really wanted to be excited. Like many 90s babies, I grew up on Nintendo. They were my very first gaming love. And not just the games, but the feeling of them. The wonder, the warmth, the way they pulled you into a world and made it feel like home. Ocarina of Time was the one that really awoke something in me. That opening in Kokiri Forest with the Deku Tree, riding Epona across Hyrule Field, it all felt so massive. Like a real world with
So just so you guys know, my first introduction to any console was Nintendo 64. And when I was 6 or 7 or something like that, I remember waking up and, tiptoeing around the house while my mom was still asleep, waking up super early with my brother, and we would go and turn on the N64 and we would play Pokemon Stadium. That game, like just how Nintendo was at that time, they had the ability to, like she said, put a small world inside of a cartridge, and there was just magic in the games. That they had that human touch and certain things like that. And I feel like that's something that is currently missing from the state of gaming right now. But she's gonna talk more about it, man. I wanted to kind of talk about that myself, man. There was just something so magical about that. It was able to take me out of being in an apartment that was too small on the south side of Chicago, not having enough money for stuff and all of these different things, and bring me into the world of Pokemon, right? I was able to fight the gym leaders. I wanted to catch them all. You know what I mean? All 151. That's all I cared about every morning that I would wake up, that I didn't have school or whatever and stuff like that. And yeah, bro, it was just crazy. Yeah, let's just get back into it.
tucked inside a little cartridge. And then Majora's Mask came along, and my little self had never felt such anxiety. That eerie moon, the ticking clock, the emotional side quests that made you care so much in so little time. It was the very first game that made me feel something beyond just fun. It was sad, confusing, kind of strange at times, and very deep. It wasn't just Zelda. I was obsessed with Super Mario 64, running wild through Peach's castle, jumping into paintings, discovering every secret star. That game felt like true freedom. And then there were classics like Kirby's Dream Land, Yoshi's Story.
So check out all of these games that she's talking about. They all have this way of inviting you into the world of the game. It's like an escape, but not in a negative way. Not the way that people use drugs to escape or something like that. But it's like an escape where you get to bring your, like, the peace that you get from the world. You get to invite that peace back into the real world and take it with you for the rest of your life. That type of escape, that type of magic was in these games.
Donkey Kong 64, Star Fox, Metroid Prime, all completely different and wonderful in their own way. And every one of them had a vibe, a soul, that Nintendo spark that made it feel like you weren't just playing, you were being let in on something very special. And then my parents bought me the original DS, and just like that,
when she said you've been let in on something very special, it's like you felt a level of exclusivity, like, man, nobody else knows about this. Like, I'm going to school and I'm excited, girls and friends and all of that, but I got this special thing when I get back home. It's just me. I get to go back to this world. It reminds me of like the Chronicles of Narnia or something like that. Like they would crawl into the wardrobe and they would live this life, and it was immersive. Like they were completely entrenched in it. And then they would have to come back and they would live their lives always thinking about what it was like in Narnia and this exclusive relationship that they had with Aslan and the woodland animals and all of these different things. That's what these games used to do. That was the defining character trait of games at the time.
The whole thing was
Crazy.
cracked wide open for me. That's how I found Animal Crossing Wild World, and I was hooked. I spent hours in that little village, rearranging furniture, writing letters, fishing for red snappers, and visiting my best friend's town during our weekly sleepovers. Even now, just hearing the soundtrack makes me very emotional. It takes me right back to those quiet, cozy afternoons after school, all curled up with that clunky silver DS with
Crazy.
nowhere else that I needed to be. Truly the epitome of nostalgia. I didn't know it then, but those games were helping to shape how I saw everything. Stories, characters, even myself. And for a while, it really felt like Nintendo understood how to make something that mattered. And it didn't stop there. I basically owned every major Nintendo console, starting with the N64, GameCube, Wii, DS, 3DS, even the Wii U, which...
Hey, we had all of those joints. I don't know how. My mom always made a way. We didn't have money for nothing, but we had a Nintendo console every single time. The Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Advance SP, the Nintendo DS, the DS Lite, the DSi. We found a way, hand me down, whatever, to get all of those for some reason. The only thing I never touched was a Wii U. I've never touched one of those.
My humble opinion was ahead of its time, by the way. But I owned all of them. And when the Switch was announced with Breath of the Wild, I was beyond excited. Like, very cringely crying at the announcement trailer excited. As a Zelda fan, it was everything I'd ever wanted in a game, and to this day, it is still one of my favorites. That launch brought back so much of the old magic, which is probably why I held on for so long, and I even wanted to work for them. Like, genuinely. I applied to corporate Nintendo PR jobs probably 15 to 20 times. I'm not even exaggerating. Back in 2019, I was pursuing PR, and when I got the opportunity to go to E3 that year, the very last E3, by the way, I actually spoke with the Nintendo PR team in person. It was magical. The Nintendo section of the event was so overwhelming and electric, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is what I want, and this is what I want to be a part of. So please, hear me out. What we are about to discuss isn't coming from someone who's out to bash Nintendo. This is coming from someone who genuinely, wholeheartedly, even at times very cringely, loved Nintendo and their games. And really...
So a couple things. First, it's crazy that she got Power World playing in the background. That's crazy. So we know what type of girl she is. But also, as you can see, very genuine, very wholesome, very honest. That's how this feels. And I love watching stuff like this and just hearing what people like this have to say. People who have a soul, you know what I mean? It's not just about trolling all the time.
Believed in what I thought they stood for, but over time, I've started to realize that maybe Nintendo isn't the company I thought they were. What I've seen over the last few years is that my nostalgia goggles have been working overtime, and they've kept me from really seeing the true nature of a company that I once held so dear to my heart. So, let's dive in. And let's start with the release of the Switch 2. It's officially out now, and sales are booming. Records are being broken, and over 3 million units were sold worldwide on release day.
Nintendo hit
People
them
are also
sparking
loving
zero
Mario
numbers.
Kart World, and I'm genuinely very happy for them. Yes, the game looks like a lot of fun. I just wish I felt something, because more than anything, I just feel tired. At $450 or $500 if you get it bundled with Mario Kart World, this doesn't feel like a celebration of the next chapter. It feels like Nintendo seeing how far they can stretch our loyalty, how much they can charge us for something that isn't even new, just a little bit newer. And listen,
Man, check that out. So you look at when the Switch first came out, I think for most people, what got them hooked was the Breath of the Wild, the Zelda open world that came to the system. And that was such a great release. This new game that's pushing boundaries, that's exploring, trying something new, taking some risks, and a new system. So it's like, okay, it gives me a reason, like there's a reason why I would want to buy this. The Switch 2, the fact that Mario Kart World is like the premier title of that system, we've had like 100 Mario Karts already. You know what I mean? It's like it's recycling the same thing. I'm not gonna lie. And when you get into the like specs of the Switch 2, it's better than the Switch 1, but it's not that much better. Like Nintendo 64, I think it's called 64 because of the 64-bit color, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They were on the cutting edge of technology of gaming at the time when they would release new consoles. To me, the Switch 2 just feels like the difference between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 feels like the difference between the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. You know what I mean? It's not, it's just not right, bro. It's not right.
I'm not here to crap on Mario Kart. I actually really like Mario Kart. I do. It's one of those comfort games that's always been there, and it's attached to so many fond memories of playing with friends and family. But even though it looks fun, when that's the flagship title for a brand new console launch, I don't know.
Crazy.
I personally just couldn't get behind the hype. It feels kind of boring, safe, predictable. Nintendo isn't asking, hey, what's possible here? They're asking, what can we get away with? Because $80 for Mario Kart World, that's not just a new number.
$80?
It's a shift in how this
Digital?
industry treats its players. And what surprises me, even though it shouldn't at this point, is that it's Nintendo, of all companies, ushering in this new pricing standard. This wasn't them reluctantly following a trend that I know was inevitable, but this was them leading the charge, setting a precedent, establishing $80 as the new normal, and not with some expansive, genre-pushing new experience, but with an exact game formula that we've literally seen 16 times at this point. And it...
Yo, I hope y'all just heard what she said. If you think about Nintendo was always like the affordable console, always the kid-friendly stuff. They had with the GameCube, they had like the smaller discs, and it cost less than PlayStation and Xbox. And what she just said was like, it's not like another company is pushing $80 as the new standard for the games, and then Nintendo is just following suit. Nintendo is leading the charge with this, and for what? For what? Your console is nothing groundbreaking. Your console is nothing innovative. It's not new. We already have 4K at 60 frames per second on every other console except for the Switch. Like, it's just because of the name Nintendo. That's crazy, bro. And the thing is people are still going to buy the stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, it's $80 for the digital games and $90, give or take, for the physical copies. Now, I'm a physical copy person because when I buy something, it's mine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like paying for a license that could potentially be revoked, whether it's likely or not. It's possible. And I don't like the idea of that. But that's crazy. And she said that it doesn't feel like Nintendo is saying, hey, what's possible with this new generation of consoles? It's like they're saying, how far can we stretch our customers' dollars instead of working for them? How can we have them work for us and put more money in our pockets? And that's crazy. And one of the prime examples of that is, Scarlet and Violet, the Pokemon games being made and not even being optimized to run on the Switch. So now people are going back and saying, oh my gosh, these games are so amazing because they run the way they were intended to run on the Switch 1, on the Switch 2. That doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be happy for that. That's bare minimum that they should be doing. Now, I think this is Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, not necessarily anything that has to do with Nintendo, but the principle remains the same, if that makes sense to me. They are not releasing any new groundbreaking anything with the release of this console. They are literally recycling. They're saying Mario Kart World. That's crazy. And not only is it like, okay, we're not giving you anything new, and we're making you pay more money to do something that you've already had before, that's proven to work, that's not innovative. Crazy. And this is the new standard. This is where gaming is going.
Makes you ask, why? Because meanwhile, I'm looking at games like Helldivers 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Remnant 2, Clair Obscur, Baldur's Gate 3, and so many more. Games that have real creative vision, some with massive campaigns, even some with fleshed out co-op systems, launching at or below $60. And many of these games are taking risks and really pushing boundaries, and somehow they're still finding a way to be more accessible. So when Nintendo drops a new console and leads with yet another Mario Mario Kart at a higher price than ever before. It doesn't feel like they're honoring their legacy. It feels like they're monetizing it, like they're using it against us. Actually kind of feels like a slap in the face. That's...
Bruh. Oh my goodness. This just reminds me of Sparking Zero so much, because Sparking was supposed to be a legendary title, because Budokai Tenkaichi 3, BT3 was already legendary. And I'm talking about, this is a Dragon Ball PlayStation 5, PC, Xbox game, if you guys don't know. This game was supposed to be everything that we ever wanted. And I just feel like, just like she said, they're using nostalgia and weaponizing it against us. Because without Budokai Tenkaichi 3, there would be no Sparking Zero. People will all day long say, oh my gosh, the Switch 2 sold 3 million copies at launch, 3 million units at launch, or Sparking Zero did 3 million on the first day, and then they've sold 6 million copies since then. Why? Don't be a sheep. Don't be a bot. Ask yourself why. It's because the predecessor was so good. Breath of the Wild, the Pokemon games that were able to be put on the Switch, all these different games. Really, the Switch is the Wii U perfected, if that makes sense. It was because of the predecessor that people had faith and trust in the company that their product was going to be great. It's not because of the Switch 2. Because you don't know what the Switch 2 is like yet. You don't know what Sparking Zero is like yet, because Sparking Zero had 120,000 people on at one time. That was the peak of the Steam numbers. And now it's in between 500 and 1,400 people per day. 1,400 is the peak. That's ridiculous. That's a little more than 1%. So all of the people who bought the game, the millions of people that bought the game, if they knew that the game was going to be in the state that it was in when it came out, and for the 8, almost 9 months that it's been out, I guarantee you that they wouldn't have purchased it. It's not because the game is heat. It's because the predecessor before the game did so well. It's because the Switch was so good that they expect the Switch 2 to be even greater. It's because BT3 was so great and BT2 was so great that they expect BT4, also known as Sparking Zero, to be just as good, and it's not. They took your nostalgia and they beat you, they whipped you, gave you lashes with it. And that's just crazy to me. The disrespect is crazy. And people don't recognize that. They'll still fight for these greedy, money-hungry companies and say, well, no, it's not that bad. Yes, it is. Open your eyes. I'm going to stop the video right there. But the last thing that she said, she talked about weaponized nostalgia. And I said that a little bit earlier because I watched some of this video already. But the last thing she said the sad thing is that it worked. We're never going to get out of this hole as gamers and as consumers if we don't stop making it work. And that's a big reason for me why I stopped playing Sparking Zero. I have to. I love the game. I love the idea of the game. And you can't be so in love with the idea of something that you're blind to the reality of the thing. We got to put our attention and put our dollars where our mouth is. That's the only way that these companies are going to stop doing that, because they don't really care about us as people anymore. They don't care about the games. They don't play the games. Most of them, they don't play the game. They haven't actually played the game. They just put it out because they knew that you was going to gobble it down, and they took your money, and that's it. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know if you're buying a Switch 2, if you bought one. Let me know where you think the state of gaming is going. Let me know if you have any similar thoughts to this, if you have any different opinions to this. I just want to know what you guys think and how you feel. I appreciate you guys. God bless you. I just pray, Lord, that you'll cover all of the watchers in Jesus' name. Draw them closer to you. Help us to see where things are going, God, and help us just escape the matrix and run into your arms, Lord, in Jesus' name. Until next time, this is Average Z Fighter out. Ciao.